Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I am the founder of the Transformation Center, which is based in Westport, Connecticut. And, at the center, in addition to the individual healing and coaching sessions that I do, I also host other practitioners. And we do workshops, we do different kinds of trainings. Some of it is on Zoom, like the shamanic clinic that we have every month on the first Tuesday of the month, or second Tuesday. Anyway, all of the information is on our website, which is transformationcenterct.com. You can check out the events and you can sign up for a free 30-minute consultation call. Happy to speak with you about what's going on in your life. And the purpose of the Transformation Center and the work, the sessions that I do individually, it's really to help you gain a greater self-awareness. Find out what's important to you and, also discover your limiting beliefs, because we all have them. They're unconscious, and you can transform them to empowering beliefs, which will help you create a life that you love. So I welcome any inquiries. Just text or call or check out the website. So, I started Conscious Conversations, the podcast and the TV show, really to meet other people and find out what they're doing and what they have to offer you. Because there's always something in their story that will resonate with someone. So I'm happy you're here today. Thank you for joining us again. And I'm excited. My guest is Liz Seaman. Hey, Liz.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being here.
It's been great to get to know you the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was missing.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah,
I know.
We had a great conversation when we met at that breakfast.
Yeah.
We're both members of TLC, Tribe TLC, which is a holistic health practitioner group. And I think it has a couple hundred members now all over the area, Connecticut, New York. It's really fabulous. You can go on their website, which is tribetlc.com.
There's so many different types of holistic healers that I didn't even know about.
And
Right?
I never heard of a nurse coach, so
Right.
here we go.
Here we are, yeah.
So I'm going to read a little bit about you before we get started, okay?
Yep.
And we'll put up your slide with your contact info as well. Okay, so Liz Seaman has been a registered nurse for nearly 30 years. She has specialized in maternal child health nursing for the last 25 years. And we're going to find out more about that. And that includes working at a breastfeeding medicine specialty practice. Also, she worked as a lactation specialist and childbirth educator at a local hospital. And she worked both at the bedside and as an educator to families in all stages of their parenting journees. Wow, how important is that?
Very.
Yeah, and furthermore, she just completed training as a holistic transformative nurse coach.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know really either, but it met a deep need I had to serve families in a very different way than I could at the bedside, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to learn about that because she's going to tell us all about her new coaching business, which is called Maiden to Mother, and I love that title. And we're going to find out why new mothers need a coach in the first place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So before that, just tell us a little bit about like how you got started in what you do.
Well, I think the easiest way to explain it is I became a first-time mother a little older in life, and I had always wanted to be a mom, but when I arrived in that space, it wasn't exactly what I expected it to be. I was expecting joy and enlightenment, and mixed in there was grief and who am I now, and do I have what it takes to raise this little human? And I struggled with breastfeeding myself with my first child, which is how I ended up becoming a lactation specialist. But what I've noticed over all these years is, lactation, there's an art and skill to it. I teach it very well to moms, but most of my time spent with moms is helping them emotionally transition into motherhood. there's so many stories we tell ourselves about what it's going to be like. There's so many masks we wear. Stepping into motherhood, our culture expects us to be, yay, isn't motherhood great? When those of us who are parents know it's kind of a roller coaster ride. And there, up until now, I feel like there hasn't been a really good way to support women through that transition. That's why it's called From Maiden to Mother, right? A place where women hold joy and grief in the same space sometimes. And really there's been no way to have a conversation about that, an individual conversation about that with women. They go to moms groups. There's like this group conscience happening there, but each mama and mama baby is an individual entity, and you have to dig deep to pull moms through to the other side.
Wow. Yeah, that's so true, because everybody's different. We're all on our own journeys.
Oh yeah.
Have different needs, different times. Yeah, but having somebody that's been through it could mean the world of difference.
Right.
And then you went and got this training in it too.
Yeah.
In the coaching part of it, right?
Yeah. So
What was that like?
during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to really reflect on what I was doing, and it was a unique situation where I was working with couples at bedside who could not pull in their support team because everyone had to stay out of the hospital. And I spent quite a bit of time holding that space with moms, the fear, the doubt, the broken records playing about, I can't possibly do this on my own. And I really started to see a deeper need to dive into that space. I had never heard of nurse coaching. It just kind of showed up on my feed as things do when you need to see them. And I took a deep dive, and over the, I think it was 8 months, the training was, I not only transformed myself and my belief systems about mothering and who I am and where I'm going, but I got to work with a bunch of clients and really help them take some masks off and step into their authentic selves as mothers and parents. Yeah.
I think that's the key thing, this authenticity. I mean, in any phase of life, right? That's what, a lot of coaches do help us with. But having that specific transition or that specific time in your life when you're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And not that many people really know what you're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's terrific that you're able to do that.
Yeah. So like nurse coaching is a little different than life coaching because I do have the medical background. So I used to teach childbirth, right? So I understand the physiology of it, what the birth process is like. A lot of women need to process their births. I'm unfortunately hearing the word traumatic quite a bit, and that kind of takes the joy out of it. I mean, talk about expectations versus realities. In our culture, giving birth is a medical event when truly it's a beautiful, transformative, physiologic, amazing thing, right? But in our culture, we celebrate the product, the baby, and not the process of what mother is going through, right? Having the medical background, I can also address postpartum mood stuff, the infant feeding, diet, everything, anything related to that transition.
Okay, so to be a nurse coach, you first need to be a nurse.
Correct.
Certified in all of the things that nurses are certified in.
All of the things, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then you add on the coaching as another modality that you're
Some nurses have a niche, some do not. I am so deeply involved in maternal child health. I was like, oh, it's a no-brainer that I would dive deep into this. There is really such a need. I've seen there's not many moms groups around much anymore than I'm seeing for moms to get any kind of support. And so they sit in their heads.
You mean at that stage, that new mom stage?
New mom stage, and going forward. I was coaching moms right up into perimenopause, right, where you've got preteens and you're headed out the other direction, and
wow.
Yeah. So from preconception all the way up. And one of the things I really want to do is coach the partners, right? Because who's holding that space with them where they're watching their beloved switch gears and So I'm like, many of us don't know who we are at our base before we become mothers. And then on the other side of that, we're trying to figure out what that is and how does that affect our relationships, and how can partners be supportive or transition into a parenting role themselves, right? It's like, it's so much. In our culture, we have the toxic masculinity and I will be provider, when most men are so emotional watching their babies being born. I don't want to say men partners, but the other half of the partnership, bringing a baby into the world, it's immense, and no one talks about it.
And that's part of their birthright,
right?
To be all types of masculine.
Right. I love seeing a partner emotional and tearful about what they just witnessed and what they're stepping into.
Right, and have that sensitivity that we think only women can have, when it's just simply not true.
Right. And how often do you hear dad's group, partner's group? And nothing. No one has a space to talk about it, or whatever's coming up, you'll say, oh, it'll get better, or, you're sad, oh, here, go take this medicine, it'll make you feel better. Yeah. So
is that something that you might do, is offer groups for different components, parents?
Yeah, actually, fathers? I was just had a conversation with a woman who owns a studio in Fairfield about doing some postpartum education. And so I'm sure that's going to blossom into other things. The beauty of nurse coaching is I can do it virtually or in person.
Cool.
So, one of the women I worked with during my training, we meet at 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings with her 8-day-old baby.
Wow.
Because her toddler had a program, or dad was taking the toddler
worked for her.
So it's like, you can show up in your jammies.
Work on Zoom that way.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we all discovered that during the pandemic, that we can work virtually, and it works just as well for healing, coaching, whatever. Yeah, that's terrific.
But getting moms together to support each other, to really do some deep work together, to be vulnerable, which is powerful, not weak. And many of us didn't learn that lesson for a really long time. We were like strong, but the vulnerability is where the growth and evolution happens. So doing it in a safe space kind of foster.
And when we're vulnerable, it allows the other person to be vulnerable.
Exactly.
And that's where the magic happens. I believe that too.
I will tell my story to anyone, and I'm not coming into this with roses and whatever. I had kind of a rough upbringing and was a single mom with postpartum depression. Like, I've been in those spaces. I understand completely. So I think it's beautiful. I can coach into that space with moms with some deep knowledge of being there myself.
Right. The experience really makes a difference. I think that a lot of us in this field start out because we experience something and we want to help other people that are in similar situations. Did you have any support at all when you were a single mom or anything?
Support that I created. I actually met my other mothers, I call them. There's two in particular. You know who you are if you watch this. That I met at a La Leche League meeting a week before I gave birth. And I had lost my own mother as a teenager. So these women taught me how to be a mom. They've been there for all the milestones. They know my children, inside my young adults now, inside and out. They're on the speed dial for my kids in case they need something. I'm unavailable. So I created community, loving community that is still very much a part of my life.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know how to do that, because that means you have to be vulnerable and ask for help.
Well, that is so hard for many of us. But it sounds like you had the inner resources to create that.
I don't know where that came from, but I trusted. Pregnancy was the first time I trusted my intuition. And that guides every step I take. And definitely during my training to be a nurse coach, I knew if something came in front of me and caught my attention, it was meant for me to see, and I would take action, which is why I'm sitting here right now with you.
There you
which
go.
is why I stepped into the Nurse Coach Collective, which is why I did the program I did last weekend. I knew it was for me.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is the perfect time to discover your intuition, that it's best to follow it.
Yeah,
Because
and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The way we mother our children is supposed to be intuitive. I have so many moms working off of apps and handing their power over people who have never met them. And it makes us feel incompetent as mothers, right?
No, that's
Our babies are all different from each other. There's no way we can put them all in an app and say, your baby must perform this way. And so moms are so anxious.
or listen to the experts. I know. I wish that I had followed my intuition more when I was a young parent, or not such a young parent, but a young child. Because I, like you, I was an older parent.
Yeah.
But you know, you just don't know what you don't know
Right.
at the time. So.
Right. And when I'm learning and coaching, right, you just talked about being a young child, there are things that happen in our lives, and they're what we make them mean.
Yes.
What we make them mean. So something could have happened to me in childhood, and I put a big old meaning on it that I did not need to drag around with me my entire life. And that meaning then transitions into how I'm parenting my own child.
Well, it starts to run your life.
Right.
Which is like, when you think about it, that's kind of
That's
absurd.
like, beliefs are not truths.
Yeah.
Beliefs are beliefs.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is all from your coaching training, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it's like
I
the
know,
biggest
I love it.
ahas I've ever had in my entire life, right? Beliefs are not facts. They're not. They're beliefs. And we can change our beliefs and therefore change the facts, right? We just look at them from a different angle.
Yeah.
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 You know, that saying, maybe you got this in coaching training, when you change the way you're looking at something, that something changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really
Yeah.
good thing to remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, so that's incredible. And I think, you know, you were telling me too that you recently went through another experience, shall we say, not training, but more of an opening.
yeah,
It's pretty profound.
honestly, I don't have the words for it,
Okay.
but I had quite a lot of stuff go on in my childhood, and I've been carrying around the aftermath my whole life, and worked with a healer last weekend who helped me release a lot of that stuff from my body. I feel like from my body, I feel like my feet aren't touching the ground. I feel like I'm vibrating heat and light. And it was funny, I sent a video to a friend trying to explain what I just did, and they said I could feel the heat through the phone. I'm like, oh, yes.
Wow.
It's coming right out of my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking into doing more of that type of work because I feel light on my feet. I always did, but you know what it is? It's about, I am an empath. You discover that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I am very open and easy with giving love to everyone, but I've had a little trouble accepting it the other way, and I get it now. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you were blocking it.
Totally blocking it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's great to release all of that
Yeah.
trauma, because it is stored in our body. You know that book, The Body Keeps the Score?
Oh, they sure do. Yep.
That's a wonderful resource, and that was, you know, kind of, wasn't the first time I, you know, had that concept, but it's really well explained, and it can be an eye opener for a lot of people.
And I think I wrote on my website, with a trauma-informed lens, I am doing this coaching because so many of us have traumas that most people think of trauma as some really big thing happening. It could be a little thing, but we make it mean something really, really big, and we drag it around with us, and we put a mask on our face when we're really suffering behind the scenes. So that was one of the beautiful things I did in my training with the clients I was working with. I could almost, without a hitch, figure out what was going on now, what their thinking was, and relate it to something that happened when they were children.
Well,
And when we look at it like that, we can let it go.
Yeah, right, because it's in the past.
Yeah.
And, you know, I read some research somewhere that just about, and I've experienced it myself, like anything that we do in the present, like when we get triggered, has nothing to do with what's happening in the present. It's always, 100% of the time, something that's stuck inside of us from the past.
Yes, and in the course of my training, I learned that kind of inner child work. We get into patterns and belief patterns when we're children and behave the way we do because it keeps us safe.
Yeah.
But now we're adults. We don't have to carry that stuff around anymore. We're safe as adults, right? We can think through things, we can make big adult decisions, and we can let our inner child be a child again.
Yeah, be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's key. Yeah, that's a lot of the coaching work I do is based on that concept, you know, that parts work.
Yeah.
And it's really
And I had
remarkable.
not understood that concept until my training, right?
Yeah.
I'd done all the therapy, you know, to work through the childhood stuff. No one did inner child nervous system work, but it's like so related. Just understanding, and that trigger disappears.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I know. It's almost
so relieving.
It's hard to believe that there's not more, that it's not more widespread, but it is growing. I mean,
It
for
is.
sure. You know, I think just the recognition that we all have had trauma, like you said, it doesn't have to be big trauma. You know, there's trauma with little t.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work on that, mainly online with different people I've discovered who are working on it, like healing the collective trauma.
Yes. One thing I learned last weekend is we are one. There is no I.
Totally.
Yeah. Right? So when I heal, you heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you'll have
right.
you'll have that healing effect now. How do you think it's going to change the work with your clients? What you went through last weekend?
Oh my gosh. I already thought I was having a deeper understanding of all of this, but the blockages, the things I was hanging on to for safety don't need to be there. And so I think having lived through a lot of these things, becoming a mother, and working through all the trauma stuff, I have such a different lens when working with individuals to help them kind of with that appreciative inquiry, asking questions the right way. You can help people discover their own truths that might be buried under there, and then pull them out and look at them in a safe container. That's a coaching word, right? A safe, trusting container. And then tuck them back away or send them off, right? Yeah. So coaching is not a one and done thing. It's establishing a trusting relationship with someone and then working for a couple of months on things that women want to work on, or if they don't know what they want to work on, we'll find it.
Helping them discover it.
We're going to find it.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
I really admire and want to acknowledge, you know, all the people that really don't know what's missing or how they're being affected and what's causing, you know, all of those
They
things.
feel it in their body.
But they have that inner sense that there's something that needs to be healed, and that's really what it's about.
Yeah, and it's not throwing a pill at it. It's like pulling it out and working through it. And now I'm not, you know, I will refer to psychological, psychiatric care if I think that's necessary, but I think there's such a different approach that's getting much better known now, where we work with the individual and don't put a Band-Aid on it, but pull out of the stuff, examine it, release it.
Right. It's not always easy, but the reward is so great that that's what, you know, I encourage people to, you know, just give it a try, and they will be so glad they did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the benefit of staying in the pain?
Well, it's like it's fear of the unknown, I think. You know, like the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know type of thing. You know. People are comfortable in their discomfort. That's a human trait, I believe. But there's so much more.
Until they see a different way.
Yeah, there's so much more, you know, possible. That's kind of the way I look at coaching, is just opening up the possibilities. You know, and the fact that you're working with a specific population, you know, well, except you're working with their new mothers all the way through, but that's
anyone. I could coach anyone. But you know, my niche, my passion work has always been with the new mamas. I think in the mothering of them, I mothered myself a lot too, because I didn't have a mother. Right?
That's really good insight.
Yeah. So, and I think the mamas have felt that over the years. I went in with a very different approach than the typical lactation person who's just focused on the feeding. I was
Right.
talking about the birth and teaching a two-person system, like you really do know what's going on with your baby. Stop checking the app, like feel into it. Yeah. And I've watched some amazing transformations. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're doing that and you found your calling.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
terrific.
so excited.
Well, great.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had this chance to talk
I know, me too.
and find out more about it. Is there any, we're going to have to wrap up in a minute, is there any last thing that you would like to share maybe with our audience or with me that...
Gosh, I don't know. I think on my website I've explained what I do as far as a coach and what I do as far as a lactation consultant, and I would encourage you to go up and take a look. You can find some testimonials from both coaching clients and lactation clients, and they both speak of transformation. That's all I ever wanted, was to like send families off empowered to step into their new lives. And now I have another platform to do that in.
Have that opportunity. Well, you created this, Liz. This is your creation, and there's no accident, like you said, that you have it. Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. I really appreciate it. It's great to get to know you better.
You too. I'll see you at a TLC event.
That's right.
Yeah.
And thank you to Verso Studios for hosting us, as always, the Westport Library. And thank you to our audience for being here. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did today. All right. Namaste.